What up, it's DJ Q, and I'm back here with another tutorial. This time, my Calvin Harris and Daft Punk, Something About Potion bootleg. Let's get into it. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the project right here. The idea that I had when I first heard Potion, I was like, wow, I hear something about us with this song. So I thought to myself, why don't I try and mashing it up? But there's no instrumental available. And granted, I could make an instrumental using lalala.ai, but typically when I approach blends, mashups like this, I will recreate or redrum or both the song that I want to use. So that's what I did here. So before I get into that, first I need to get acapellas, which there's no acapella available for Potion or Something About Us. So I used lalala.ai. Got great results, which I have to be careful how much I play just so I don't get demonetized from YouTube. But here's a portion of Something About Us. I need you more than anything in my life. Sounds great. It's so clean. I was pleasantly surprised, like I always am when it comes to these acapellas that come out of lalala.ai. And then here's a portion of Potion from Calvin Harris and Dua Lipa. So that I actually have heavily EQ'd, so the telephone effect. With those vocals made, I started recreating the Potion beat first with the chords. So I loaded a keyscape here, which is a 70s Rhodes, and replayed the chords. Yeah, that's the majority of the song. I have some other layers on top of that, like a piano, which just adds to the chords. This comes from F9, Electric Disco 2. I talked about F9 in my last video. I can't speak about them highly enough. Like they just freaking rock. Diva for some nice Juno-esque chords. I love Diva for those like classic disco 70s, 80s vibes. It's just great. And this is literally called Daft Punk keys. So when you put that all together here, you get this. So it has a nice vibe to it, right? Kind of sounds like it's moving. I believe I have a flanger on here. I have a flanger on the Rhodes. So this gives sort of that movement with the Rhodes here. So if you just hear the Rhodes by itself, and then if I take it off, you still have like the movement from the Rhodes, but the flanger just adds like a little bit of that like French houseness to it. Okay, so from there, I have a funk guitar that I cut up, which comes from Cashmere's. I think this is his latest sample pack. Let's take a look here. Yeah, Sounds of Kashmir Volume 4, and I just cut it up into stabs. And then I have a guitar rig running through that, which, yeah, it's just this auto filter preset, which typically with a lot of those auto filters here in Guitar Rig, you get a lot of that funk. And then I missed it last time. I almost forgot to talk about the bass, but we're going to start off with the bass. Once again, Electric Disco from F9. They just rock. There's the second half. I believe that's all the element. Like it's super simple. And then what I did end up doing, but filtering as a layer, is the beat from the original, but it's so deep behind the track that you wouldn't really notice that it's there otherwise. And so that's the entirety of the drop, which I'll go ahead and play after we talk about the drums. So the next part would be the kick. So let me go ahead and isolate. Let's do a loop right here. So for this kick, a Cashmere kick, I actually ended up shortening it here using sampler, so it's not even the full kick, and then just fading it a little bit here. And then from there, I started working on the percussion, everything on top of that. So first was usually the snare clap. Oh, let me go back here. Yeah, so that's a mixture of a snare and 2 claps. And I did something interesting with the clap and the snares. I wanted them to be super short. So what I ended up using was Duck Buddy. So what Duck Buddy is, it's a Ableton side chaining tool. It's supposed to work much faster than typical side chainers. I don't know if that's true or not. I do hear a sonic difference. It's funny, like with side chainers, I feel like there's a flavor to each side chain that you use. Like they all give you a different sound when you side chain. So with this, what I ended up doing is, so I can show you here. So like this clap, right? You can kind of see right here, I basically cut it off. So, the clap comes in super quick and then drops off. Because if I turn it off, so I still shortened it, but it cuts it like a little bit more. Then I did that here for this snare. So like it sounds much louder, but here, yeah, you get a little bit more of the transient. And then I have the depth adjusted as well, so it's a little bit behind the mix. And then the second snare here is just an Oliver snare shifted. I don't play the... Yeah, I kind of shorten the tail end here. So then when it all comes together... It's weird because it actually does sonically like make a difference when I take off these Duck Buddies. See how it's like much like louder and more in your face? Yeah, see? Whereas here it drops off, drops like back into the mix a little bit. That's what I did for these claps and snares. And then let me run it with the kick. And then I had some tops, once again, going back to good old Oliver here. This is also from his Power Tools sample pack. This one is Power Tools 3. And then, yeah, this disco loop here is from the new Cashmere pack. Yep, Cashmere Volume 4. And that's all of the drums right there. Let me double check. Yeah, that's all the drums. So super simple, not overly complicated. So when it all comes together, and then when we bring in the actual drop here, and then we don't have a bass line yet. Let me add the guitar. All right, let me add the bass. So that's without me even adding the original like Calvin Harris, like the loop that I pulled. You see like how it's so subtle in the back. Like I guess the best way I could describe it is that it helps like fill out a little bit of what's empty. But even if I took this out, it still sounds solid. Like you would get the idea that it's Potion in general. So then from there, what I have is the Daft Punk Vox rolling on top of that. So this one was a little bit tricky because the vocal, even though it was really good, it kind of falls apart at certain areas of the AI extraction. So I don't know if you can notice here, but I mean, if I change the colors, so I cut different parts because when you hear the vocal, it's like right here, Anything in my life. And then I think this one is my life. When I was trying to put together the phrase in the AI vocal extractor, it fell apart when it would get to my life. So what I did is I took the parts where it actually came through and I added it to the other part of that phrase, which you can't tell. I mean, in relation to everything, I mean, even if I just solo the vocals. Yeah, it sounds like super clean, even though in this portion here, it falls off. Same thing here. Yeah, so that whole My Life like fell apart in this portion as well. So cutting a My Life from a part that actually came through and adding it there makes it sound like the full vocal came through, or rather was extracted correctly, if that makes sense. So yeah, a couple of things. I have like some typical like transitions and things like that. Let me, talking about the arrangement, I'm going to turn off the vocals because once again, don't want to get demonetized. But basically what I ended up doing is typical DJ intro. I ended up teasing the vocal from Daft Punk in the beginning, and then I build it with some effects and then just drop it out with just the keyscape. And then I've been trying to challenge myself like to change my arrangement a little bit. So like right here I do like a drop, like a straight drop into like a filter, like kind of build up. And then this is just I have an auto filter on the drop. I have an auto filter on the kick. Do I have it on the kick? On the drum percussion, that's what I'm running. So yeah, I have the regular like kick going through. Oh no, wait, I take that back. I'm sorry. I am filtering the kick here, except I'm adjusting the frequency here in sampler. So instead of grouping it all together and filtering it, I am filtering the individual elements until I built it up. And then I drop it out. And then it comes in. And so that really helps like with the energy in the track. I mean, it's not a very energetic track to begin with. It's a really well done song. It's a radio song, but this helps give energy to a song that typically kind of stays here when you really want to get it to here, if that makes sense. It's all those little things that help like bring tension and some energy like into the arrangement. And then you can see it here in the arrangement. I end up teasing a little bit of potion throughout the song. So if I play just a quick portion here. So I thought that was cool, just kind of teasing that the song is potion. It's like that little like call and response sort of thing. And then what I end up doing is building it up again right here. So let me go ahead and mute the vocals again. So right here. So I drop it out, which is like kind of like a pre-build, and it comes back again to like bring it back with a little bit of the Daft Punk vocals and Calvin Harris vocals, and then I have the bridge where it just drops out into the final breakdown into the last drop. And same thing, it's all filters, like filters to help create tension, to help create movement in the song. And this one I actually do run the sample through of the original song, so it kind of sounds like a sample. And then building it up. And then just run that through for a bit. until we eventually get through the outro here. Yeah, so aside from that, that's basically it. I guess the big thing that I want to highlight is the fact that if you recreate a lot of these elements, especially if you're using DIY acapellas, that helps sell the song in general and helps sell the idea that you didn't use a DIY acapella. I always get asked, and I always get DMs, where did you get the acapella for this? It sounds so good. I'll mention all the AI extractor programs that you can use. I mean, La 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 is just one of many. There's so many different AI extracting tools that are out there, and they all sound great in their own regard. But it's everything around it that makes it sound so clean, and that really sells the idea that you use a studio acapella. So I really believe when you're doing something like this, recreating it in some way really helps in doing that if you can, or if you treat the elements from the song kind of like a sample, especially if you're like redrumming it. If you're doing a redrum, finding drums that fit the sample but will also knock in a club, but figuring out ways to layer not only, okay, I have the vocal and I have the instrumental and I want it to sound like something new. Well, maybe if I replay the bass line or replay something, it's going to help sell the idea that, wow, it knocks and it sounds so much bigger in a club. It sounds so much bigger wherever you're playing the song. So typically with a lot of these bootlegs, I try and do that. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. I'm having a blast making this. The last video I uploaded got a really good response. So yeah, look out for many more. And if you like what I'm doing here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Leave me some comments below. I really appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace.